Biodiversity means plants, animals and microbes occurring as an interacting system in a given habitat. It is also called biological diversity. Biodiversity is different in different natural habitats. Due to industrialization, urbanization, and population explosion, biologically rich and unique habitats are being destroyed, fragmented, and degraded.
Some of the industries, they are releasing polluted water without any proper treatment, and this water ultimately reaches to the water bodies, where a lot of our plants which were growing earlier in those water bodies, they have disappeared due to various types of pollutants which have harmed their growth. Therefore, air pollution and water pollution both are adversely affecting the biodiversity of our local area.
Natural resources are consumed non-judiciously. Threat to biodiversity is world's most pressing crisis. In some habitats, biodiversity is being lost even before its size is known. Loss of biodiversity would check the evolutionary capability of biota to cope with the environmental changes.
Recently we have seen that climate change is taking place, and this change can be defined in the form of sudden increase in mean temperature, abrupt rainfall, as well as sometime sudden storms and strong winds. So naturally the loss of biodiversity is directly concerned or related with the climate change. This climate change has shown at many places there are several plant and animal species which have disappeared. There was one study made somewhere in northern region where they have found that during last 20 years more than 25 to 35% plant species, they have disappeared from their natural habitat.
Threat to biodiversity is one of the major challenges to science. Threats to biodiversity are due to the following reasons: habitat loss and fragmentation, poaching of wildlife, introduction of non-native species, overexploitation, soil, water and atmospheric pollution, intensive agriculture and forestry, use of animals for experimental purposes, pest and predator relationship. Habitat loss and fragmentation. This is the greatest threat to biodiversity. When people cut down trees, fill a wetland, plow a grassland, or burn a forest, the natural habitat of a species is changed or destroyed. Just as a man becomes a refugee, in the same way, wild animals also become homeless and invade other areas where their survival is not certain. Several species became extinct during the construction of dam on Narmada River of Madhya Pradesh. Persons of Harsood were offered land at Chamera, New Harsood, but nobody thought about the plants and animals. The result is that several species have become exterminated.
The interaction amongst organisms is also disturbed. A forest patch surrounded by cropland orchards, plantations and urban areas is an example of fragmented habitat. Species occupying deeper parts of the forests are the first to disappear. Overexploitation of a particular species reduces its size of population to such an extent that they become vulnerable to extinction.
Due to overuse or misuse of desirable plant species, forests and grasslands have been turned into deserts. Wastelands have increased all over the world. Mangroves have been cleared for fuel wood and prawn farming. Therefore, habitat for breeding fishes has decreased. wetlands have been drained to increase agricultural land. At present, tropical forests and coral reefs are facing the problem of habitat destruction. It is estimated by 2050 about 10 million species of plants will be eliminated.
The number of known species of flowering plants at present is 2,50,000. It is estimated that if habitat loss continues at the present rate, by the end of 21st century, 25% species would have been eliminated. It is also estimated that extinction of one plant species is related to the extinction of 20 to 30 species of animals, because green plants or the variety of higher end plants or flowering plants are the producers, while animals are consumers.
Animals depend upon plants for their survival. A major part of extinction occurs due to the change in land use or loss of natural habitat to adjust to the increasing human population. Projects like taming rivers for irrigation, draining of marshes for agriculture have either altered or even destroyed the natural habitat of wild animals, causing great reduction in their population size. To protect and preserve biodiversity, it is essential to preserve the natural habitats like forests, grasslands, mountain areas, wetlands, coral reefs, and other ancient ecosystems. Poaching of wildlife or illegal killing of wild animals.
Poaching of wildlife is done by man to obtain food, fat, finery, that is fur and feathers, and for financial gains, while hunting is done out of fear or even merely for fun. Man, because of his greed and vanity, has become the greatest enemy of wildlife. We have tried to take control of all the so-called adverse factors for our own survival without any concern for all the other animals that are surrounding us. Animals provide for one of the most lucrative black markets all over the world. It is estimated that worldwide trade, illegal trade of animals take a toll of about 40,000 primates, 40 lakh birds, 35 crores of ornamental fishes, and innumerable number of snakes and lizards every year.
Animal products which are traded include 5 crore furs, about 500 tons of ivory, 1 crore reptile skins, and 3 crore manufactured leather items. The declared worldwide wildlife trade amounts to about 7,500 crores a year and involves poaching of 20,000 different animal species. Several important Indian saints prefer to sit on lion skin or tiger skin or the skin of spotted deer. They preach non-violence, which is contradictory to their deeds.
In Africa, 95% of the black rhino population has been exterminated by poachers for their horns. Similarly, the African elephants have been wiped out for about 3,000 tons of ivory. The scarlet macaw, a beautiful colorful bird commonly found in South America, has almost been eliminated from most of its habitats all over the world. Some species of spotted cats like ocelots and jaguars have been jeopardized for the demand for their fur. In 1962, 70,000 whales were slaughtered because of the great demand of their parts. Now, in America, whaling industry has almost disappeared, but Japan, Ireland and Norway still carry out whaling in the name of research. Actually, the bones of whales are used for making combs and various other products of fancy.
In China, different organs of tigers are used to prepare medicines. Snakes are killed out of fear. Most of the snakes are non-poisonous, but the moment any person sees a snake, he kills it out of fear. Poaching is done for food requirements also. In Madagascar, dodo bird became extinct because its flesh was considered as a delicacy by man. Bears are killed for their gallbladders. Musk deer is killed for perfume, which has a large market in foreign countries. On the beaches of Chennai, Kanyakumari and Andaman and Nicobar shells are sold. Tortoise, exotic birds and other small animals are packed into tiny containers and smuggled around for the pet trade. Orchids and ferns are exploited for illegal trade. Introduction of non-native species.
New species entering a geographical region are called exotic or foreign or alien or even invasive species. The niche of foreign species may overlap with the native species. In fact, the newcomer may outgrow the native species, resulting in the extinction of the native species. Invasive species are considered to be second only to habitat destruction as a major cause of extinction of species. Exotic species have a large impact, especially on island ecosystems, which support and harbor much of the world's threatened biodiversity.
Those species are often intentionally introduced to improve fishing and hunting. They can lead to problems also. A few examples are Nile perch, an exotic predatory fish introduced into Lake Victoria of South Africa, has threatened the entire ecosystem of the lake by eliminating several native species of the small sea-chilled fish species that were native to this fresh water aquatic ecosystem. Water hyacinth, introduced as an exotic aquatic plant introduced from America and tropical Africa, has become an obnoxious water weed that threatens the survival of many aquatic species in lakes and rivers. This is a free-floating plant whose roots remain inside water. Leaves are found above water surface. Therefore, it carries on transpiration and causes dystrophy of the lake. The lakes at Bhopal and Sagar of MP and Dal Lake of Srinagar reveal decrease in catchment area because of the rapid and heavy, dense growth of water hyacinth. Parthenium hysterophorus or carrot weed, native of Central America, got introduced in India when wheat was purchased from America under PL 480 scheme. Now the plant is a headache for cultivated crops such as sugarcane, pulses and cotton. It causes skin allergy and asthma in human beings. In skin allergy, the skin develops scales like crocodile and the appearance is so ugly that a few people have committed suicide. Overexploitation.
Dodo, a non-flying bird which was found in the island of Madagascar, was hunted by man for its flesh to such an extent that the bird became extinct. Not only this, but a species of plant called Calvaria major also became extinct. When scientists tried to find out the reason for this, they were surprised to note that the seeds of Calvaria major could only germinate when the fruits of this tree were eaten by dodo. When the seeds of Calvaria major came out with the faces of dodo, only then they could germinate. Since dodo was overexploited as a delicacy, the regeneration of Calvaria was stopped, which means by overexploiting one animal species, the biodiversity of a plant species was also disturbed.
In Africa, there were 13 million elephants in 1980. Due to their exploitation for ivory, the number has decreased to less than half. Antelope is overexploited for its decorative horns. Codfish is overexploited for cod liver oil. In West Bengal, frogs were overexploited for their flesh. Within a few years, there was sudden outbreak of malaria because the number of mosquitoes increased due to the overexploitation of frogs. The government was forced to put a ban on export of frogs. In Mysore, Karnataka, sandalwood is overexploited for obtaining scent and other products. In Pachmadi, Madhya Pradesh, the plant Psilotum has been overexploited for educational studies to such an extent that it is not possible now to observe any living specimen of this plant even in the remote areas. In Indore of MP, medicinal plants like Tinospora and Centella brahmi have been overexploited due to their medicinal value. Soil, water, and atmospheric pollution. Pollution alters the habitat of plants and animals and plays a very important role in disturbing the biodiversity.
When large amounts of sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxides are released in our atmosphere, then in our outer atmosphere these react with moisture or water, and ultimately sulfuric acid and nitric acids are produced. These acids, along with rain, they come down on the earth's surface, and ultimately either they are mixed up with the soil or they get accumulated into various water bodies like ponds, lakes, ditches, canals and rivers. In these water bodies, when the concentration of these acids becomes quite large, increased, then these acids start affecting the growth and production of various plants which are growing there. Not only plants, even animal species are also adversely affected by these acids.
Water pollution is harmful to organisms living in estuaries and coastal zones. Natural pollution agents such as forest fire, leaf fall and defoliation by insects also affects biodiversity. Man-made pollution such as setting a large area of forest on fire is more dangerous than natural forest fire. Toxic waste added by man reaches the animals through food chain and has devastating effects on population. Spraying DDT is considered to be one of the reasons for reducing the number of tigers because DDT through grass enters in herbivores like rabbit or deer, and here it enters fox, then wolf and ultimately in tiger. Concentration of DDT increases 10 times at each level. The result is that tiger is the greatest sufferer. Pesticides are linked with decline of fish-eating birds such as pelican and falcon. In ponds, eutrophication nutrient enrichment of the water body drastically reduces species diversity. Addition of detergent containing wastewater to lakes and ponds disturbs the biodiversity of swans, ducks and cranes because their wings are unable to function as the wax on their wings dissolves in the detergent in the water. Intensive agriculture and forestry. In India, grasslands are continuously being changed to agricultural land to meet the food demand of the growing population. Under silviculture and social forestry, trees like eucalyptus, sal and rubber are cultivated for deforesting the natural forest. Growing several members of a single tree for obtaining timber or rubber or any other forest product is called monoculture. Monoculture plantations do not support the same biological diversity as a multi-stored forest which has a canopy and a rich undergrowth of vegetation, nor do they nourish the soil. We should remember that man can plant trees but he cannot grow a forest because forest is an ecosystem which develops after thousands of years when it gets occupied by its own consumers and decomposers and establishes its own food chain. Use of animals for experimental purpose and for zoo collection. Researchers throughout the world use a variety of animals for their studies. Frogs are used in laboratory for teaching dissection. Monkey is used to prepare vaccine of polio. Chimpanzees are used for drug trial. Rabbits are used for the trial of intravenous fluids and pharmacology of different drugs. Animals like lion, tiger, deer, antelope, monkey, gorilla, chimpanzee, gibbon, bear, peacock are captured alive and kept in zoos. Animals in captivity generally do not breed. They also have a high mortality resulting in loss of biodiversity. It is estimated that in Delhi alone, out of 15 species of frogs, 13 have become extinct. Lions are captured by circus people. Pest and predator relationship.
Natural predators remove the aged, sick and injured members of the prey population. In contrast, human beings always remove the strongest specimens. Such predation decreases the genetic vigor of a population. Thus, natural predators as well as human beings have an effect on the prey population. Natural predators make the prey population stronger, whereas human beings make the population weaker. Both predators and prey are important biotic components of an ecosystem, and therefore great care should be taken while dealing with these components of the ecosystem. Human beings hunt, poison and trap predators like lions, bears and wolves, and thereby this results in the thinning of biodiversity.
An approximate breakdown of various human activities threatening natural biodiversity is shown in this diagram.